Today we are reporting 2 new confirmed cases of Covid-19. One of the new confirmed cases is linked to the St Margaret's Hospital and Rest Home in Auckland. This is a Waitemata District Health Board staff member who has been in a period of self-isolation but who has now tested positive for Covid-19 and is being cared for at North Shore Hospital. The nurse had been looking after St Margaret's Rest Home patients at Waitakere Hospital and was amongst those close contacts of another positive case announced last week. And I just want to reiterate that she has been in self-isolation since then. Affected areas at Waitakere Hospital remain closed to further admissions, and many precautions have been in place over the last week. The other confirmed case is actually a probable case that was already known to us that has now been confirmed. So that reduces the overall number of probables by 1 and brings our combined total of confirmed and probable cases, brings it to 1,490, which is an increase of 1 for the total. And just to reiterate, that is made up of 1,141 confirmed cases, and that's the number that we report to the World Health Organization, and 349 probable cases. We now have 1,347 people reported as having recovered from Covid-19, which is 90% of all confirmed and probable cases. That's gone up by 15 since yesterday. Today there are 3 people in hospital with Covid-19, 1 in Auckland City, 1 in Middlemore and 1 in North Shore Hospital. None are in ICU. We still have 16 significant clusters. There is 1 additional closed cluster. This is the cluster associated with the George Manning Rest Home in Christchurch. So that brings our number of closed significant clusters to 4. We have no additional deaths to report. Yesterday, our laboratories completed another record high number of tests, 7,812, bringing the total number of tests completed to date to 175,835. That equates to 3.5% of the population. That puts New Zealand in the top 20 countries per capita for testing. I just want to briefly talk about our testing system and how our strategy is working. From the first Covid-19 test, which was completed in New Zealand by ESR on February the 1st, we now have the capacity to perform up to 12,535 tests per day. Our laboratories, scientists and technicians have quickly adapted to fight Covid-19, and testing remains an essential part of our elimination strategy, because that's the starting point for identifying and containing the spread of the virus. Throughout Level 3, and when we move into Level 2 and outside our bubbles, we need to maintain our focus on ensuring that all those who have symptoms are tested, cases are isolated, and any close contacts are identified and quarantined. DHBs are submitting their updated plans to ensure that we do that. I just want to briefly mention Healthy for Life. We've had a strong push on keeping older New Zealanders safe in their bubbles, and there is a series that's available providing information for older people and how they can keep healthy in their bubbles, called Healthy for Life, and that's available on TVNZ on demand. And just lastly, reiterating that we are still in Level 3, but we can prepare for Level 2. But if for Level 3, play it safe. We do not want a second wave. What you're doing is working in Level 3, so keep working and learning from home. Keep your distance from others when outside your bubble. Parties are still not okay. Remain local and travel only within your region.
As the Prime Minister outlined yesterday, when it's safe to move to Level 2, a significant amount of activity will reboot across the country. But, as Dr McElnay has just said, New Zealanders will still have to play it safe to prevent a rebound of Covid-19. Level 2 has been designed to get as many people back to work as possible and the economy back up and running in the safest possible way. Going hard and going early on the virus means we can be more open more quickly in terms of the economy, and that has been our plan all along. We know the restrictions associated with Level 4 and Level 3 have had a significant impact, and I'm acutely aware of the sacrifices that have been made by many people and businesses. We are doing everything we can to mitigate this through our significant investments to support businesses, jobs and incomes. Today we've had the regular release of MSD's figures as well as the Treasury's weekly economic update, and we've also had the government's accounts for the 9 months to March published as well. The MSD numbers show job seeker support payments are up by about 40,000 people since the 20th of March. This increase represents 0.8% of our total population. For comparison, in the United States, they have had new jobless claims relating to Covid-19 of 33 million, or 10% of their population. In the latest data that we have for the week that ended the 1st of May, last Friday, we saw the smallest increase of people going on to JobSeeker since the 20th of March, with an additional 4,021 people. One interesting insight is that since the lockdown, we've seen 4,718 people who have returned from overseas and have gone on to the JobSeeker benefit, compared to 424 last year, a tenfold increase. Now, while these numbers all continue to be dwarfed by the 1.72 million New Zealanders who are covered in work by the wage subsidy, we know that they will continue to grow, and we will continue to do all we can to mitigate this through our significant investments. Minister Sepuloni will release more analysis on the job seeker numbers in the near future. This will feed into our plans for rebuilding the economy, retraining workers, and our ongoing campaign to ensure we have the right support in the right place at the right time. The Treasury's weekly economic update and dashboard out today provides some interesting insights into economic activity in New Zealand measured across a range of high-frequency data. For example, electricity use on the 5th and 6th of May was higher than the same days last year after being well below 2019 levels during Level 4. There are other signs of increased activity as well as we have moved from Level 4 to Level 3. For example, an increase of 30% of vehicle traffic, particularly among heavy vehicles, i.e. trucks. Of course, these levels of activity are still below where they would normally be. There's been a range of views on what impacts the virus will have on economies around the world, including New Zealand. Treasury's scenarios show economic output could be about 75% of normal activity at Level 3 and improving to 85 to 90% under Level 2. New research this week from the Reserve Bank puts activity at about 80% at Level 3 and improving to 91% under Level 2. So while we can clearly see the benefits of moving down the alert levels, these numbers also pose a warning on that we need to keep up the amazing work that everyone in New Zealand has done to stamp out COVID-19, because we know if we move back up the alert levels, economic activity will be restrained. We do not want to yo-yo between levels. We have to stay the course. The projections and forecasts around all of this will continue to evolve, and we'll be releasing Treasury's budget forecasts on Thursday next week, which will also contain further scenarios. As I said yesterday, next week's budget will be very different to the one that I thought I would be delivering at the start of the year. We've had to move quickly to respond to the needs of our country and our people as we tackle this pandemic together. This year's budget will be just one moment on our road to recovery. Normally, the budget day represents the total of the government's economic plans and spends for the year ahead. That won't be the case this time. We will continue to work every day to get through this and thrive again. We're able to provide support that we are because of the strong position the government's books are in, particularly compared to the rest of the world. The government's accounts for the 9 months up to the end of March released today show the first signs of the COVID-19 impact. But they also show the strong position we were in going into this crisis. They reflect how we got money out the door quickly ahead of the lockdown to support businesses and protect jobs. The accounts show our debt as a country is low compared to the rest of the world. The way that governments measure that is by looking at net debt as a percentage of GDP, or economic activity. In New Zealand, in these accounts, that number was 21.3%. By way of comparison, countries like the UK, the US and Ireland went into this situation with their debt 5%, 90% and 40% of GDP respectively. What all of these numbers mean is that we have more room to support New Zealanders to get through this crisis. Our good position to invest in our economy and to cushion the blow was recognised by the credit agency Standard & Poor's this week when they maintained New Zealand's credit rating at AA+ with a positive outlook amid a round of credit rating downgrades in other countries. And finally, I'll just quickly put my Sports Minister hat on for a moment before we move to questions. While I know everybody, including me, is champing at the bit to get back out there and to enjoy sport, the return to sport and recreation does need to be managed carefully at all levels to ensure the health and safety of everyone involved. Sports bodies, in particular netball and rugby, are putting a lot of work into getting their professional leagues going. It will take a bit of time as they make sure they are meeting all the public health guidelines. Through Sport New Zealand and WorkSafe, we are working closely with them to make this happen as soon as possible. Community sport is also possible again at level 2. Just as for the professional, this means needing to prepare for physical distancing and good hygiene. National and regional sporting organisations are working hard to support clubs to make sure that everybody can get through this. My advice to sporting clubs is don't rush into it when and if level 2 comes into play. Get everyone in your team or your club on the same page and make sure that they're confident that the systems are in place to keep everyone safe.